Today is Sunday, September 9th, 2018. Get ready for the Emerging Sea broadcast system, the Forbidden History series. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. Now's the time to call your friends. And good morning, Lynn. Good to have you. We now interrupt your normally scheduled programming to bring you this very important deprogramming program. And special thanks to YouTube.com for hosting the Forbidden History series. Please note that the following views and the opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily the views nor the opinions of the Master Force Group, YouTube.com, Free America Radio Network, our sponsors, our partners, and MFG is a private society, and nothing here is ever to be construed as medical hate nor legal advice. And listen to the Forbidden History prime time 7 days a week right here on the realpublicradio.net, because hidden beneath the sands of time lies the greatest of all mysteries. It's the Forbidden History. Unearth for yourself the secret truths that lie hidden just beneath the surface below our feet. What is it that the powers that be do not want you or I to know? Come and journey with us as we explore and dare to know, because it's all right here, coming your way 7 days a week, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time on the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network. It's what they didn't want you to know that we tell right here. And good morning, y'all love. And Sandra down there, down under, Ninja, down under. And we're up over, at least for the moment. Stand by for the broadcast. You did tell your friends, right? Okay. I'm counting on you. We're all counting on you. Coming to you live from Studio Z at the Lighthouse in Central Ohio, in the heart of Amish country, and Free America Radio Network, in the land of dreams, enchantments, and nightmares. It's the Forbidden History series. What they didn't want you to know, but we have to tell, ladies and gentlemen, we have to tell the truth. It's the great lies of history, the duality revealed in patterns, pictures, and nature, symbolism, the great lies of history, book and movie reviews, the words that killed, they killed you with, that the words that, the piracy of words. It's all right here, ladies and gentlemen, you know it, because we leave no stone unturned, because we are the deprogramming program. And it is the battle for the mind. Because the truth, it is light, but ignorance, it is darkness. And there's nothing there. It's void. It's empty. And these are the great antagonists, the one against the other. And which one will win, ladies and gentlemen? Well, of course, the one that you feed. For all things that great civilizations can create, there's only one thing that they cannot create, and that is the light. They have no power. It's an illusion. It's a head trip on them. The joke is on them, ladies and gentlemen. Get the picture, okay? Because we can transcend into the eternal light. That's the objective. Because once we can begin to comprehend the true nature of things as they really are, then we can begin to comprehend that there is nothing more to complain about. It's knowing the true nature of things. It's easier said than done, of course, right? And you don't know what you don't know until you listen in. And we have some very sophisticated owlets out there. Owlet sounds like an outlet. Could be an outlet for somebody else. Absolutely. And the best way to identify the truth is to identify the great lies of history. And that's what we're doing right here every day, ladies and gentlemen. And you know, the bigger the lie, well, the more people just want to follow it. They love those big lies. Give me the biggest lie. Give me some of that dogma. I love it. That's so good. Yes. Yeah. Give me a break. Because if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Good luck and welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, desert owl, a bird who sees in the night, hanging out with a bunch of owlets now. Owlets. I love that. It sounds just like an outlet, you know, because it is. We're transmitting utilities according to the B system. Means we're a power source, and they love to harness our energy. Let's just convert that energy, right? Let's be a power source, an outlet, and an owlet, okay, and an inlet, and a safe haven, and the place to be. All that lined up. Just stand by. I got to do one thing, okay? Got to do. This is the real public radio, but you know, it's not good for radio, but we are the real public radio. We're just regular people doing extraordinary things because nobody else is doing it. You know what I mean? And somebody's got to do it. And so we're all in the matrix, ladies and gentlemen. But we are 1 foot in, 1 foot out, apparently, and we got to keep stretching that leg, you know, and reaching out because it's wanting to consume us, and the diversions are so great. How in the world do we do that? Yeah. So I have a couple words. I got a special read today because everybody on the Day of the Sun, where some people for some reason don't like the Day of the Sun, you know, and they construe it somehow with sun worship, and that's all been propagandized by the occult because they hate the light, and they wanted to get everybody else to hate the light, and therefore none of it makes real logic or sense when you know the truth. And by the way, real quick, just if you know you have a Skywatcher report or a Great Lie History or a word that kills or they killed you with, anything like that, or you just want to know the meaning of your name, and you can call in. You know that 608-566-7295. That's 608-566-7295, or Skype in at Free America Radio, all one word, Free America Radio. So Aisha is, you know, is really the power word, ladies and gentlemen, and it really coalesced while I was doing the broadcast here. It's like I knew it, but when I kept repeating it over and over, and I realized I'm seeing it in all the other words, you know, and then it was in our face, and I've seen it for several years, but this daily repetition of me having to present many of the things over and over again helps me to see more clearly as well. We're all opening our eyes wider and attempting to see the things we're not yet seeing, or saying, actually, or saying, because say is the original word for seed and seed. And good morning, Martha. You're not too late. We're just ramping up here. And so Aisha is really like is the power word, and it's the same. It's a perfect anagram. It's the same frontwards and backwards, and it is the cover word. So it was just unfolding more. You hear me use it in Aisha Rayel as the correct, but also then I realized it's of course Issa, which is the corruption of Isha. But there when you spell it as Isha, Isha, then it becomes clear the I is the corruption, and it is the A, and so Issa, which has to have an H, so it'd be Isha. Then you realize that the I is the final clue, and you replace the I with the A because the A is the first letter of the alphabet, and you get Aisha, and that is the woman. Aisha is the woman, and Aisha literally means the royal eye of light. Okay, so if you get the picture, then you know the woman representing that. Isn't that true that like about the men, right, ladies? Men are always today gawking at the women, right? Because the woman is designed for the attraction. The woman has all the curves and what have you, and so the royal eye of light has like a double meaning, because number one, it's about royalty, so therefore it has nothing to do with sensuality in that pretext, but the royal eye of light also then implies that the woman represents the light of the sun. Remember, there's the duality in everything. So the sun is masculine and the sun is feminine. The masculine is what's behind the sun, the spirit, and then the light as it's coming down, falling. There's the proverbial fall of Eve. Well, that's the royal eye of light. It's coming down. and that's in the fall. The woman is continually falling in the metaphor of creation. And so it's a powerful word, okay? And then the clue is right there on the map. They still call it Asia Minor, but they never tell us what it means, right? They never say Asia is the royal eye of light, the woman, and Minor means light. So Asia Minor means the light of the royal eye of the light, and therefore it's a reflection, therefore, on Jerusalem, because that was the center of the earth. There was a duality in the center of the earth as well, because Mitzrayim, Egypt, was calling itself the center of the earth, right? The place of the sun, the city of the sun, that's the center of the earth. The center is the sun, the galaxy, right? And anyway, that's an interesting one. And so, like, when we talk about Isaiah, then it is actually Esha Yah, you see, and it's prevalent in many of the words. Well, Esau is Esha, you see, and he got it from his father, Eshayak, you see. It was being passed down. It was being passed down, and so, but he sold his birthright, sold his birthright, and therefore, who did it go to? When Yaakov is coming back to his inheritance, he's wrestling, right, with the royal Malach and saying, "Give me a blessing, give me," and what does he get? He gets the title Esha Re'el, the royal light of the royal eye of light of the illuminated, Esha Re'el, the Re'el meaning the illuminated, okay? But what's interesting is not his thigh was put out. That's a code, thigh, Thigh, I believe it's spelt, and really it's a code for the eye. His eye was put out, and so where Isaac was blind at the end of his life, Yaakov, the seed of light, one of his eyes were blind. They lied about that one too, and because that was symbolic then of Israel, because Israel was blind. You see. So he had one eye blind, the other one could see, and that's why when you watch the occult movies, you'll often see that one eye in the movie. Somebody's got one blind eye, like in The Exorcist, and other movies. It's there to tell the story that they're blind. They're following the blind goddess. They're admitting it, and the stupid people don't know what they're even participating in. They're just following the game. They love the games. They play games on us, right? So that's Esha, ladies and gentlemen, and get to know these Shavors, because they are the Shavors of the truth, to rebuild, to rebuild the Shavors. We have to go back to original thought. That's important, and so great is a code, GREAT. I just wanted to go over a couple key words here this morning, because they're all important. And great, I was looking at it this morning. I just wrote it down, and it's something I've been looking at for a long time. But literally, great means the royal son of return. You hear the word 8 is in there. 8 is the number of return. Good morning, Ash. Welcome. And the royal son of return. And there's the word 8. But but great would be spelled as it implies. You hear the sound of the word 8, which is the number of return. It is GRAYGHT. Okay, the G and the R are codes. The G is the symbol of the sun. R is the symbol of the royal, and then AYGHT, the eye of return, and so it literally means the royal sun and eye of return. So and so the gray is the in between. It's the in between, because what do you do? You have a black circle and a white circle. You bring them together, and they create in the middle the vesica Pisces, right? It looks like the almond, the almond shape, and that's called the gray, because you mix black and white and you get gray. And so that's basically where we are. We're absorbing the light. The light is coming down, but we're in the gray zone. We're not in the darkness, only part, because we're still waking up to much of the truth, but at the same time the light is flowing. And we want to be fully in the light, and that's when we rise from the dead and we receive the great breath of the wind and fire, or the Holy Spirit. So much are in these Shavuos. Okay, so much. There are stories in these Shavuos, and a lesson, an axiom. Okay, and so these are important. The eye of return. Why? Because when the Father creates something, He's expecting a return, right? He creates a garden, He's going there looking for produce, right? To take it back to the atom, Eden, the upper light, okay? The true garden, the garden of light. That's the atom, the garden of light. So grace, another one, this week I just saw, to me is really, because I knew for years it was favor for all. But then in the G, again being the code, symbol of the sun, and race, the G race, meaning that we are all a product of the sun. We are all a G race. That's why, they wear the G on the ring in their secret societies, because they're claiming to be of the light, right? G for gold, symbol of the sun. G for geometry, of course, for creation and all that, But so the grace then really in the favor for all is the sun shining down on everyone, right? And didn't He say that, the Father lets the sun shine down on both the good and the bad, right? So everybody benefits from the creation of the Trevane love, the love that keeps on flowing, the divine love. Trevane is the correct word for divine. The T is has to replace the D and the AY. TRAY, Trey, replaces the I in the divine. Die for dissect, die for division. You see, the divine is a divided vine. You see, it's a bad word. The D and the I are corruptions. So it is Trevane. Then Trevane means the three vines, the sun, earth, and moon are on the tray, His tray that He has created for us to take from, to absorb the light, and to eat the produce of its creation, so that we can learn, and then we can escape this pitiful world of darkness. And so, yeah, the shining down on everyone, and even forgiveness. Forgiveness means, in the original thought, to give someone another sunrise. Okay, so like if I said, I forgive you, I would say, good morning, Miu, good to have you. And so if I said, I forgive you, what I'm saying is, I give you the sunrise. Okay, I'm giving you the sunrise. I'm giving you another day to live, and not to feel, in pain and hurt because maybe you made a mistake or something. No, I give you the sunrise. I'm giving you the day. I'm not. Beautiful thing about forgiveness, it means forgiving. Means it's you already have to forgive everyone before they even do something to you. Talk about powerful, right? It's already given in the royal house that you cannot hold a grudge. You cannot beat someone over the head. You have to be ready, looking for the opportunity to forgive, an opportunity to live up to the law of Yeshua in giving somebody the sunrise, forgiveness, right? Isn't that powerful? Okay, you're driving, Ash. Be careful out there. And so I just, when these Shavuos start opening up, there's the shower. The Shavuos is just shining down, raining down on us in light and water. Light and water. And okay, so I'm trying to memorize that one because it's such a powerful one, and it's new to me. And so I'm going to do a book review, and I've got an important read, and I'm not going to do it just yet, but I'm getting close. And it is the letter of Dionysius, the letter to Dionysius, and it may have been written by Luke. I've got to, I may pick up on it as I read the intro and get into it, but it's an explanation of what the Christians, how they lived. It's a the classic term is they use as apology. I don't know why they get that term. There's nothing to apologize for, but it's an account of how the first followers of Yeshua lived. Okay, and it's, even though it may not be a perfect translation, it's an accurate depiction. I've read it many times, on Sundays when I'm breaking bread, when I was doing it with the family at the time when I had a family, and so it's really powerful, and so that's coming right up. But I wanted to share with you out of the Old Testament pseudepigrapha. Say that 3 times fast. Pseudepigrapha, 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 and it's a collection of the lost library of Israel that was surviving in fragments around other parts of the world. It's over near 70 books. If you ever want to get a copy, I highly recommend it. When I got my copy back in the 1980s, that just 2-volume slipcase set cost about 120 bucks. That was back then, so I have no idea how much it would cost today. But I have the original version, the first version by this is by James H. Robinson, and that was right. No. James H. Charlesworth. Yeah, and I had the version by R.H. Charles. I get confused between these two. R.H. Charles from 1913, 2 big volumes. And this then was done in the 1970s, a revision of the Old Testament pseudepigrapha by James H. Charlesworth. Interesting, they both got the name Charles. But and so it's like, the Apocalypse of Abraham. Well, Volume 1 is apocalyptic literature and testaments. Volume 2 is expansions of the Old Testament and legends, wisdom, philosophical literature, prayers, psalms, odes, fragments of Judeo-Hellenistic works. These are the type of many books by Ezra. Okay, Ezra had like probably a dozen works at all, and there's about 5 of them in here, and one of them is so profound. They're all prophetic. They're all prophetic, actually. And Apocalypse of Abraham, Apocalypse of Adam, Testament of Adam, Life of Adam and Eve, Achiar, Letters of Aristides, the Exegete, Aristobulus, Artaphanes, 2nd Baruch, 3rd Baruch, 4th Baruch, and Artisan Publishers has 1st Baruch, I believe. Nicodemus, Malchus, Cleodemus, Malchus, Apocalypse of Daniel, more Psalms of David, Demetrius, the chronographer, Eldad and Modad, Apocalypse of Elijah, 1st Enoch, 2nd Enoch, 3rd Enoch is irrelevant. It's a rabbinical thing. So 3rd Enoch is, not all of these are, necessarily a part of the original tradition. And you have to read and look at each one, see and read it for yourself. Eupolymus, Pseudo-Eupolymus, Apocryphon of Ezekiel the Tragedian, 4th book of Ezra, the Greek Apocalypse of Ezra, Questions of Ezra, Revelation of Ezra, Vision of Ezra, fragments of pseudo-Greek poets, pseudo-Hecataeus, Hellenistic synagogal prayers, Martyrdom of Ascension of Isaiah, Ladder of Jacob, Prayer of Jacob, Jannes and Jambres, Testament of Job, Joseph and Asenath, History of Joseph, Prayer of Joseph, Jubilees, 3rd Maccabees, 4th Maccabees, Prayer of Manasseh, Syriac Menander, Testament of Moses, Orphica, Philo, the epic poet. Well, there's Philo. I don't know if I had read, and here's Pseudo-Philo. Got a couple about Philo. I forgot that. And I don't even remember if I read those. I'll have to go look. I usually have notes in the margin. Pseudo-Philoclete, Pseudo-Phoclides, The Lives of the Prophets, History of the Rechabites, Apocalypse of Shadrach, Treatise of Shem, Sibylline Oracles, Odes of Solomon, Psalms of Solomon, Testament of Solomon, the Odotus, Testament of the 3 Patriarchs, Testaments of the 12 Patriarchs, Apocalypse of Zephaniah. So is that enough lost writings for you? That'll keep you busy about half your lifetime, if not more. I have not even read them all in here, okay? I've worked my way through it, then my divorce happened, and the rest is history, as they say, and so I have a lot more to cover. So the reason I broke this book out today is because of the odes. Now, the odes of Solomon in here are not from the Old Covenant. These are new, what we would call New Testament odes. Okay, the odes, they're not. It's not by Solomon. It's the means the solitary peace. The Sholomun. The Sholomun is implying the solitary peace. And so let me just take a sip, and I'm going to read you an ode. Okay, I want you to hear these powerful words. This is written by somebody that has the Spirit. Excuse me, somebody who has the Spirit. And so these are, I used to read these every Sunday when I was breaking bread, and I broke it out today and realized I was forgetting, an important element of my my Sunday ritual. So I'm going to read one for you. Ode 5. And by the way, they're also found in the lost books of the Bible and forgotten books of Eden, but it's a different version, okay? A different version. And I need to compare them both. I'd love to draft these, but these belong in the back of our own scriptures in the New Testament and would appropriately go after the book of Revelations. This would be the poetry. You think there might have been some poetry written by someone with the Spirit, right? Okay. I create light about you, true, perfect, and complete, Naga healer and pure breather of light, because I love you. True, perfect, and complete, mother star in the eye of the return, do not abandon me, for you are my hope and my opening. Freely did I receive your favor for all, shining down upon me everywhere. You are my opening and my expectation. So now may I live by it. My persecutors will come, but let them not see me. Let a cloud of darkness fall upon their eyes, and let an air of thick darkness obscure them, and let them have no light to see, so that they cannot seize me. Sounds like my ode. Let their counsel become dull, so that whatever they have conspired will return upon their own heads. For they have devised a counsel, but it was not for them, and they were vanquished, although they were very powerful. They prepared themselves maliciously, but they were found to be impotent. Indeed, my hope is upon my healer and pure breather of light, and I will not be afraid. And because the healer and pure breather of light is my sole novation, my salvation, I will not be afraid. And he is a corona of light upon my head. That's the original word for crown. Corona of light upon my head. That's the sun, right? That's the sun. And I will not be disturbed. Even if everything should be shaken, I will stand firm. And though all things visible should perish, I will not die. Because the great Naga healer and pure breather of light is with me, the mother's eye, and I am with him, the one of the many. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. And there you have an ode of Solomon, an ode of solitary peace, written by someone with the great breath of the wind and fire. A new covenant writing in the old covenant. That's how they hide the stuff, right? So we never get it. Yeah, Ash, glad you're enjoying it. Okay, and so that's my Sunday read when I break bread. And so I want to jump into, before we do the big read, I just want to go through my regular 3 books: the Nag Hammadi and the Illustrated Encyclopedia of Symbols and the Dictionary of All Scriptures and Myths. And hope everybody's doing okay out there. And Lou, welcome. Good to have you. And yeah, you had a great, fantastic video I saw yesterday. I'm telling you, you are the guy to go on a little journey with in the sky. What beautiful music as well. So thank you for that, Lou. Everybody check out Lou's latest video, okay? And Marta, you're saying, Desert, that was not only profound, but very uplifting and almost musical in canter. Let them have no light or counsel. I will not be afraid. Thank you for this. You're welcome, Martha. Yeah, well, it was in my box under lock and key, you know, and I had to break it out. I've got so many of them, you know, don't know which one to grab. And no greater love, and good morning, no greater love, and everyone. Sorry, I can't stay, but I'm at 28%, and the wholesale town is blackout, and this is the prison town, SM. I am so interested in these writings too. Gonna have to catch up. All right, yeah, you're welcome to come back and check out No Great Love and that channel. I remember seeing it yesterday, but I can hardly comment on it. I'm wondering if it was the lady I invited. I know I invited somebody here today. Yesterday, had a great presentation from the heart, you know. So keep it coming. Okay, Martha, that's motivation for me. And by the way, that Old Testament pseudepigrapha, you can probably get it used. You might find it used off of Amazon and then get a deal. But the publisher is Doubleday, and it's a 2-volume set. I was reading out of volume 2, The Odes of Solomon. So it's edited by James H. Charlesworth. Okay, just play this back on the recording. I'm giving you that info at 31 minutes. Okay, so just check it out on the recording, and you can get a copy. So we cannot get enough inspiration, ladies and gentlemen, right? Cannot. I mean, we're so deep in the quagmire of planet Earth that there's no time for diversions, really. You know, we're at the end of our world. You know that we're at the end of our world. They've destroyed it. You know it. Okay, the poison air, poison food, poison water, poison frequencies in the air. You know, poison truth turned into lies. We're just in a bad way, ladies and gentlemen. But the good news is, Yeshua is still in control. He's letting him get away with it. The joke's on them because they destroyed their own world. What fool would burn his own house down, right? What fool would burn his own house down? And they did it because the ancient watchers that are the unseen hand that's secretly running our world thinks that they can play the game and that they can win. And they've just annihilated themselves. I have no idea what Yeshua would want to do with that type when it's all said and done. But they took blood oaths. The ancient Vekoresh, the watchers, literally took an oath to go against Yahweh. Hey, what an arrogance. Can you imagine with the knowledge they had to think that they're going to go against the one who made the universe and get away with it? So they're the scapegoat. They are the proverbial scapegoat. They're just like the Judas goat. You know, it's nothing new under the sun, as they say, right? Okay, so we're in the Acts or the star message of Tolma. The star message of Tolma, and we're in 17. And Yeshua breathed, I will give you what no eye has seen and what no ear has heard. Oh, there you go. Yeah, what nobody is saying, right? I will give you what no eye has seen. And they're certainly not looking at the light. They have no regard for the sun. You realize that when we talk about the sun here? Nobody has figured out that the sun is the source for all of our life. They look at it like some kind of biological creation, inanimate object that just rises every day, and they don't get the picture of what that sun symbolizes. Yeshua breathed, I will give you what no eye has seen, and what no ear has heard, and what no hand has touched, and what has not arisen in the earthly heart. And I know it's talking about the Spirit, the great breath of the wind and fire, the pure breath, the Holy Spirit. I'm going to read that again. This is powerful. Yeshua breathed, I will give you what no eye has seen, and because you can't see it, right? It's purely invisible. It is breath. And what no ear has heard, the voice of the great wind of fire, and what no hand has touched, and what has not yet arisen in the earthly heart of the blind. And so there we go. And when we pick it up next time, we'll be in 18. And I just love these sayings of Yeshua. They're all very rough because we had occultists giving us the translation, so they weren't going to do an accurate job, but that's okay. The breath of the wind and fire is breathing, and we can see and read it for ourselves. He gives us the anointing to see. Okay, so we're in now the star message of truth, still in the Nag Hammadi. and I just recently read through this about a year ago, and I remembered it was so powerful. I want to prove to you that we're being lied to about the Nag Hammadi, and that we are, we have to see and read things for ourselves, because somebody doesn't want us to read it. Anytime they're talking negative about something, I'm going to go check it out. You know, I hear what other people say, but I'm not listening to what they say until I see and read it for myself. And so we're in now the parables of the sheep, and the power bull is the power bull. And I got to do one thing. Hang on a second. To cool down around here. Now I'm putting on clothes. I can't get over it. First we're taking them off, then we're putting them on. All right. So, and want to welcome any new listeners tuned in out there. You are tuned in right here to the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network, the Forbidden History series, what they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. And we leave no stone unturned. We get into lost writings. We talk about symbolism, and we have a read of the original gospel, the original gospel, star message of light. That's the original word, star message of light. Okay, and we have a wonderful friend out in Cologne, Germany, that does the read for us. She already figured out the original thought for herself. She can see and read it for herself now, and because she speaks 5 different national tongues, she immediately wrapped her mind around it and is now reading and giving me a run for my money here. And so I said, hey, if you're going to read this way, come on, just get on the program and do it, because you can give me a break, and I'd like to listen. And so it's rather fun to find somebody else other than myself reading the original thought and doing it, you know. And the original words create pictures, okay, in the mind, because words were based on pictures, symbols are based on pictures, the letters are based on pictures, but we don't get the picture anymore. And we need to get the picture because it tells a story. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? There you go. So a picture creates words that create pictures. It's full circle. Parables of the sheep. He is a shepherd who left behind the 99. He is a shepherd who left behind the 99 sheep that had not strayed, and went in search of the one that was still lost. He stood up in the light. The eye stood up in the light when he found it. For 99 is the number expressed with the left hand. But when another one is found, the numerical sum is then transferred to the right hand. The light hand. That's the hand of light. Switch out the R for the L on both, and you get the light and the reft. In this way, what needs one more? In this way, what needs one more, that is, the whole right hand, attracts what it needs. Take it from the left and bring it to the right, and so the number becomes 100. This is the meaning of the pronunciation of these numbers. The Father is like that. The Great Father is like that. He labored even on the Shabbats, on the rest, for the sheep that he found fallen into the pit. He saved the life of the sheep and brought it up from the pit. Comprehend the inner meaning, for you are the seed of the inner meaning. You are the seed of the inner meaning. What is the Shabbat? It is a dayel, a day on which soul salvation should not be idle. Speak of the day of the sun. And now here they put in the code, because what they said was speak of the heavenly day. But you know what it's talking about? You see, there's the code, heavenly day, when it is the day of the sun. Right? That's when he rose, on the Sunday, because it is about the illumination and rising from the dead, with the sun, having the sunrise. And they couldn't say it because they're occultists. Speak of the day of the sun that has no night. You see, there's the evidence of what I'm saying now, right? Because listen to the way they put it. Speak of the heavenly day that has no night, the heavenly day. Speak of the day of the sun that has no night, the day of the sun, and that has no night and is of the great light, that does not set because it is perfect and perfectly set at high noon. That's the ganun. That's the ganun. The garden of the atoms flowing down with pure judgment and perfect vision. Speak from the heart, for you are the perfect day. Speak from the heart, for you are that perfect day, where the light will never set. Now we're talking metaphor. You are that perfect day that the sun will never set in. And within you dwells the light that does not fail. Speak the truth from the tree's root with those who seek it, and about the key knowledge, the K knowledge, the key knowledge. That's the K. The K in front of knowledge is pronounced key, and it's a symbol that means key knowledge. Okay, that's the silent K in front of knowledge. It's the key knowledge with those who have closed their eyes in their own error. So speak the truth from the tree's root with those who seek it, and about the key knowledge with those who have closed their eyes in their own error of darkness. Okay, and that is the parable of the sheep. Is that not powerful, ladies and gentlemen? Is that not powerful? And then when we pick it up, do the will of the Father. That'll be tomorrow. Do the Father's will. Okay, that's the Nakami that they demonized. They called them Gnostics, but never in here did they ever call themselves Gnostics once. I've read the book over and over. Okay, and that's why we don't want to listen to what other people say. We have to see and read things for ourselves, because I was deflected by other people on a number of occasions. I was delayed by a couple years to get George Lamsa's most powerful translation of scriptures from the East, from the Aramaic. And I was deflected for 20 years or more. Glad you enjoyed it, Lou. And I was deflected for more than 20 years to finally look. I discovered it. Wasn't even looking for it because I heard the negative about the Aquarian Gospel. You know, so what? It's got a phony title on it, a name. That's okay. I know it came from the age of Pisces, and it's not Aquarian. But, you know, I was dissuaded. I wish I would have had it when I was in my youth, you know. That was 25 years later, I think, when I discovered the Aquarian Gospel, which is actually the original. It's not the Aquarian. It's the original. And it's totally synoptic with our Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and it's even got some of the elements of John in there. Amazing. In fact, I'm certain it was written by John, actually. Okay, written by him, because he was a friend of Yeshua's from childhood, and he was a Levitical scribe with his brother Yaakov James. Okay, so we're in the Illustrated Encyclopedia of Traditional Symbols by J.C. Cooper from Thames and Hudson, and I wasn't going to read out of here today because, but then I saw the code. I saw the code. I can't get over it. You see, they slant even their own symbols, because they're like, you know, when the eagle, we see the eagle on the symbols, right? But it's really a vulture. It's really a vulture, and the vulture means to prey on the dead. Okay, and boy, I just read that this morning somewhere. Where was that? It may be coming up in the dictionaries of scriptures and myths. It may be, because that was powerful too. I'm making a connection now, but anyway, so the definition here is on mulberry, and a mull is at the center, just like a double doors. When I used to build houses, and we put up double doors on those $100,000 homes, $200,000 homes, and in the middle of the double doors you got a mull, and it's to protect the crack in the middle of the two doors, and it's a covering, and it's a style. It's a fancy piece of wood that you nail on one of the doors, and when you close them together, it covers the gap in the middle, and it's called the mull. And we've got a call coming in. Okay, but I don't think. Let me see. Hang on. I'll go to a song. And can I help you? Valerie, are you calling in on the program right now? Oh, that's okay. No, that's why I took it off to the side. Yeah, I was thinking of sending you a text just because I was wondering how that was working for you now. But I'm on the broadcast, so we talk later on after lunch? All right, I'll call you back. All right, bye. Okay. Well, that was just a friendly call, and so no caller there. Shucks, just just when I thought we had a caller, but I realized that wasn't somebody that was normally listening in, so I took it off to the side. So there you go. We're at realpublicradio.net. They got all the money. We don't have any money, but we do get it done on a song, a wing, and a prayer. And you've noticed that, right? And by the way, you are our prayer, and so I thank you for your support, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to be here with such wonderful people around the world, and making lemonade out of all the lemons they gave us, you know. And I love lemonade. And out of all the lies, we get to find the truth, right? No, I hadn't heard from Jedi. Uh, Actually, now that you mentioned it, for it seems like a couple weeks, Lynn, and yeah, I may have to give her a call, see how she's doing. Okay, so Mulberry. Okay, so the center of creation, and the three colors. Mulberry. So here's the definition: mulberry, the three colors of its three stages of ripening. The three colors of it, the three stages of ripening: white, red, and black. And when I saw that, I said, wait a minute, like red, white, and black, like red, white, and blue. Let's continue because we're going to get a bigger picture. Red, white, and black are used to symbolize the three stages of initiation, also the three stages of man's life. White, the innocent child; red, the active, meaning, blood of the earth, man. And good morning, Natasha. Good to have you. And black for old age and death. And so when I saw that, I said, wait a minute, red, white, and black. And then I realized, that the red, white, and blue. Well, the blue is the field of stars, right? And therefore, the stars don't shine in the blue; they shine in the black. And so, just like they were pretending the vulture with the eagle, they're pretending the black with the blue. And our flag is actually, by symbolic nature, the field of stars has to be black because stars only shine in the darkness. And therefore, our flag is red, white, and black. Red, white, and black, ladies and gentlemen. I can't get over it. And so they're hiding the original meaning of the symbol in the black, which is old age and death. Let's just forget the old age part. Let's call it death, right? It represents death. And that's the slavery flag. That is the Jesuit Dutch Royal East India Trading Company flag that traded human flesh on the high seas around the world, okay? That's the red, white, and black. Because I used to say, well, it's the red, they love the red, white, and blue. I say, well, I love, it's called the red, white, black, and blue. They got us black and blue all over, and so anyway, interesting symbolism. I'll finish it here. It's real short. Okay, so it's used to symbolize the three stages of initiation. Okay, and then the mulberry from Chinese philosophy. The mulberry is a tree of life and has magic powers against the forces of darkness. It also represents industry and filial piety, Greek misfortune in love, as the mingled blood of Paramus and Thisbe. Okay, funny name. This bee and that bee. Okay, Paramus. So anyway, a little bit of symbolism that is very telling. And just like they like to put on the light, they say, well, yeah, brother, love you, Jesus loves you, brother. And while they're claiming to be of the light, and yet they're of the darkness. Know what I mean? So there we go. And one more before we get to the main feature here. And because I'm doing this read this morning on the early church, I'll bypass the book of Genesis today, and we'll pick it up again tomorrow, okay? Because that's a mouthful in itself, and I'm trying to pace myself, and I got to get back to Philo soon too. But I'm in the dictionary of all scriptures and myths, and I'm reading about the warrior twin. Okay, I got two reads here, and the warrior twin, a symbol of the intellect and emotion in conflict. So we can think of like what is symbolized in Gemini. You know, Gemini is an important galactic symbol. The symbols of the galaxy, the 12 zodiac, um, they are important pictures. Have nothing to do with astrology. Okay, it's talking about our relationship in the cosmos with the one who made all things. Okay, and so there is a story behind all of these different pictures that we see in the sky. So the Gemini, you know, is that duality again. You see, and it's the battle with self, and it's the battle with what's out there. You know, and so the twin, being there's twins, what it implies is there's our duality again. Okay, one is true, one is false. If we're talking about the duality of nature, if we're talking about the self, well then, you know, there's two of you and one of you has to die. And that's the serpent, so that the owl can live and take off, okay? And transcend. Your spirit has to transcend. It's trapped in a body, which is a grave. It is a place of hell. It can be. It is for a lot of people, is it not? They're trapped inside a matriarchal, that's matrix, a matriarchal tomb that they need to be set free from and become dominant over, because the tomb wants to dominate. The serpent wants to dominate, and the serpent has to be crushed under your feet. So I thought that'd be a good primer on that, right? So here we go. Warrior twins. And a symbol of intellect and emotion and conflict. Yeah, he gives rest to the twin warriors who are, and by the way, this is from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And remember, they didn't have the word dead. It was West. The Book of Westing. The Westinghouse. Oh, yes. Westinghouse came over here, right? Yeah. He gives rest to the twin warriors who are their wardens, because he mourns on account of their wars. Yeah, he crushes out the things that hinder the little ones. He places a limit to the hurtful power of the shining forms. Kus, Book of the Dead, chapter, I don't know what that Roman numeral is. I think it's 110. The self, continuing here, the self is the means of affording peace for the twin warriors, inasmuch as intellect and emotion can never agree, excepting as they take refuge in the self, the mind then being sublimated and the emotions purified. The self is the means of dispelling the illusions which are due to the imperfect conceptions of the immature individualities or unawakened minds. The self, by limiting its own manifestation, is also the means of preventing the attention to the form side of life from alluring the personality to destruction. Okay? So see army, Greeks, Kus, lower, little children, soldiers, and Trojans. And then one more, which I thought would be most appropriate for today, is washing the feet. Wash the feet. Washed, W-A-S-H-E-D, washed the feet. A symbol of purification of the progressive soul by the truth, symbolized by water. Yeshua breathed unto him, he that is washed need not to save to wash his feet. And he that wishes to be washed need not to save, but to wash his feet, because he is then clean everywhere. And that's John Yalganun 13:10. And so the implication is being that it is the feet. He says you only need to clean the feet, meaning everywhere that you go will be of a pure intention. Everything that you do then will be of a pure intention. And there are places then you will not go. And it's because the feet lead us. And so when the feet are washed, so it is very symbolic. And so we stand upon the feet, the progressive lower activities of everyday life. And these correspond to the foundation of our being. When that is purified, the washing is complete. Okay, so we stand upon the feet, the progressive lower activities of everyday life. And these correspond to the foundation of our being. There you go. When that is purified, the washing is complete. To wash the feet is to purify the natural man. And when this is purified, the whole man is also purified. The natural or external man is purified when he shuns the darknesses, the blindness, which the spiritual or internal man sees to be blind and dark. Our earthly feelings themselves, which are inseparable from our ethical life on earth, are like feet wherewith we are brought into sensible contact with earthly affairs, and are so in such a way that if we say we have not closed our eyes, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. So we acknowledge that we were all in darkness at one time. And every day, therefore is he who intercedes for us, washing our feet, and that we as well may have daily need to be washing our feet. That is the ordering aright for the path of our true spiritual footsteps on the pure path. That's Augustine on the Gospel of John, Volume 2. See baptism, feet, footsteps, man, natural, walking day by day, water. And then the next one will be washed in the blood. That'll be next month when I get back to the W again. That will be a powerful one. Okay, so let me just take a quick musical interlude, and I'm going to do a little read on the early Christian church. Okay, coming up next. Glad you're tuned in. Want to welcome any new listeners out there. You're listening to the RealPublicRadio.net, Free America Radio Network. And thank you for hanging in there for me, friends. I like to pace myself because, after not talking to anybody for 6 years, my voice went into atrophy, into a nursing home, and now I think I've lost a lot of muster. I wish I would have had somebody to talk to all this time. But anyway, I know I'll get over this. I just got to keep doing voice exercises. Yes, that's what I got to do. I need to pick up singing again. I don't know, but uh, telling people not to panic creates panic. That's probably true, Lou. You're right, and that's right. Don't worry. What? Don't worry. What? That's what they say down in Australia. That's I figured. Okay, are they? It's like when people say laughing out loud. I always wonder, are they really laughing out loud, or are they just saying that? But anyway, we're on, and we're on the sun. As it's probably more than they have saying. Okay, very good. it's hard to know what to read, my book or the chat, so I'm going to the book. The letter to Dionysius, the anonymous letter to Dionysius. And by the way, this comes out of the Early Christian Writings is the name of the book, Early Christian Writings, and it's this particular book is also. Well, okay, rather than having an author, it's called the Apostolic Fathers. Okay, so the authors are many. So the author is Apostolic Fathers. The book is called the Early Christian Writings, 3 words, and it's by Dorset. Okay, I think others have picked up the same book, and it has more than one publisher. The anonymous letter to Dionysius, which is a treatise rather than a letter, purports to be the reply to an inquiring heathen's desire for information about the beliefs and customs of Christians. I'm sure they didn't believe anything, because belief is not the word they would have used. Why, he is supposed to have asked, do they hold the cults of both Greeks and Jews, or Judeans, excuse me, no Jews back there either. The cult, both the Greeks and the Judeans, in equal aversion. What is the real nature of their own tradition? Why has it only recently made its appearance in the world? In answer to these questions, the author, after an exposition of the follies of Greek idol worship and of the castigation of the Judean superstitions, contrasts the supernatural nature of the Mashiach game, aka Christian revelation, with the man-made rites of its rivals, and then proceeds to draw a singularly beautiful picture of the manner of life practiced by the Mashiach game communities of his day. The identity of Dionysius, himself apparently a pagan of high rank, is unknown. There is a Dionysus among many Greek personages to whom the Emperor Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations has recorded his gratitude, and some critics, including Lightfoot, have been inclined to think that he was the recipient of the letter. The more recent theory of Dom P. Andriessen, however, would identify Dionysius with the earlier Emperor Hadrian. For Andriessen has argued strongly that his letter is in reality the supposedly lost apology of Quadratus, a defense of Christianity known to have been addressed to Hadrian in the 10th year of his reign. Dionysius, which means heaven born, may well have been one of the horrific titles of the emperor. If Andriessen's views are accepted, we must date the letter somewhere around 124 AD, a period with which the writer's description of contemporary church life, or the community's life, as well as the simplicity of his theology, is perfectly consistent. It is only the most improbable excellent fortune that the letter has come to our knowledge at all. Strangely enough, no mention of it or quotation from it has been found anywhere. Now, and there's a footnote. I just want to see that. An early father who passed. Quadratus is someone who has passed the first part of his life in Asia Minor, Asia Minor, and afterwards became Bishop of the Church of Athens. Okay, that was a footnote. But continuing here, strangely enough, no mention of this work or any quotation of it has been found anywhere in the rest of the patristic literature. Furthermore, the only text of it existed in a single manuscript until as late as the 16th century. Wow, that's a miracle. When 3 copies of it were made. And a footnote, it was a collection of treatises by Justin Martyr with the letter to Dionysius appended. In consequence, the authorship of the letter was for long erroneously attributed to Justin. This is the one original manuscript later published in the flames of this one original manuscript later perished in the flames of Strasbourg during the Franco-German War of 1870. So the original then passed on. But happily, the copies had been carefully collated with it only a short time before. There are gaps in the text in chapters 7 and 10, and at the end of the 10th chapter, the letter breaks off abruptly. The remaining 2 chapters, which are by a quite different hand, appear to form a part of a sermon intended for delivery on the feast of the Epiphany, or what they call Easter. The style of their composition has led many critics to ascribe them to the 3rd century presbyter Hippolytus of Rome. And I have an old note here, not possible, see part 211. Okay, so there you go. That's the introduction to it. And take one more sip. Okay. Oh. All right. So here we go. Let me see how many pages we got, because I want to split it down the middle and let y'all love pick up in the middle here. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half, 6. Okay, so I got 6, so that'd be 3. 1, 2, 3. So there's where I'm going to break. Let me take that note and put it right, ouch, here. I'll tell you, when you get old, you get pains all over your body and you don't even know what's going on. All right. Glad we're not flesh. That's the good news. Okay, open letter to Dionysius, part 1, the letter. I've noticed, my Lord Dionysius, the deep interest you have been showing in Christianity, and the close and careful inquiries you have been making about it. You would like to know what gods Christians believe in, and what sort of cult they practice, which enables them to set so little store by this world, and even to make light of death itself, since they reject the deities revered by the Greeks, no less than they disdain the superstitions professed by the Judeans. You're curious as well about the warm, fraternal affection they feel for one another. Also, you are puzzled as to why this new breed of men, or at least this novel manner of life, has only come into our lives recently, instead of much earlier. I salute this eagerness for knowledge, key knowledge, on your part, and I create light before Yahweh, the author of both speech and hearing, to grant me such use of my tongue that you may derive the fullest benefit from listening to me, and to you such use of your ears that I may have no cause to regret having spoken. And this one is titled The Follies of Paganism. 2. Begin, then, by clearing your mind of all the prejudices, that's prejudgment, it harbors. Shake off the hidebound notions which can only lead to error, and put yourself in the position of a brand new creation, on the point of hearing what you yourself admit to be a brand new form of communication. Then take a perfect look with your own intelligence, not just with your eyes, at the forms and substances of those objects which you call gods and hold to be divine. Is this one here for instance, anything other than a block of stone, identical in kind with the flags that the slate that we tread under our feet? Is not that one there made out of brass, of no finer quality than the common utensils that are manufactured for our everyday use? Or a third of wood, already rotting into decay? Or a fourth of silver, needing someone to keep an eye on it all the time and for fear of thieves? A fifth of iron, pitted all over with rust, and a sixth no better looking earthenware of clay than the articles they turn out for the humblest domestic purposes. Is not every single one of these made of materials that are perishable? Was one not made by the stonecutter, another by a brass founder, a third by a silversmith, a fourth by a potter? And up to the moment when the skill of those craftsmen gave them their present forms, was it not just as practicable? Indeed, it is not just as practicable even now, for every one of them to have been made into something quite different. Moreover, supposing that ordinary pots and pans of familiar material were to be put into the hands of those craftsmen, could they not be turned into gods like these? Or, contrariwise, could not the images you adore so perfectly well, refashioned by earthly hands into commonplace pots and pans like any others? In a word, they are not, one and all, nothing but dumb, blind, lifeless things, without sense, without movement, rotting or decaying or being stolen. Do you really call these things gods, which really do service to them? Yes, indeed you do. You pay homage to them, and you end up becoming just like them. Is it not because we Mashak Christians refuse to acknowledge their divinity that you dislike us so? All the same, there is in fact in very little reference in the way you treat them, even while you imagine and follow that you are glorifying them. Is it sure it is surely a mockery and an affront to them that so long as these venerated deities are all only made of stone or pottery, you leave them quite unprotected. But when they are silver and gold, then you lock them up every night and post watchmen over them all day in case they might be stolen. And if they are really endowed with sense, the sort of honors you pay to them must be more of a humiliation than a tribute. And if they are not, then you are making nonsense of them when you adore them with the blood of fat of your sacrifices. Imagine one of yourselves putting up with that kind of thing or allowing it to be done to him. No earthly being would tolerate such indignity because he possesses sense and reason. The stone only puts up with it because it has no sense. So your own actions establish its own insensibility. There's plenty more I could say about the refusal of the Mashak Christian to make themselves thralls to gods of this sort, or slaves to gods of this sort. But if the above considerations are not enough for anybody, I see no point in pursuing the subject any further. The follies of Judaism. I have to do one thing. Just stand by for a sec, okay? And want to welcome any new listeners we have out there. You are listening to the Forbidden History series. And going no place where anyone seems to want to go, especially not at the bullpit. They're not allowed to have this over there. No. And thank you for all your comments as well. I know I miss a lot of them. Next, I expect that you most want to hear Now, on the follies of Judaism. Next, I expect that what you most want to hear about is our Christian unwillingness to accept the faith of the Judeans. Admittedly, since they have no truck with the sort of religion I have just been describing previously. Judeans may fairly claim to be devotees of the one true virgin goddess and to acknowledge her as their sovereign. Because remember, they were following a female deity, and that was the Virgin Mother, but she became a whore. Remember, that's the story. Then the Father is introduced. So I just want to clarify. Nevertheless, insofar as they do her service with rites similar to those of the heathen, they are in error. And of course, what they're following is the blind goddess. For if the Greeks must stand convicted of absurdity by the offering they make to senseless and dumb idols, the Judeans ought to realize that it shows equal absurdity and no true piety to conceive of Elohe herself as in want of such things, or in need of such things. And it is a duality, of course. It isn't the male-female because the mother and father are one. And but they did not receive the truth of the Father back then. Remember that. They received the lesser, and because they were still in the darkness of the world. The maker of the sun, earth, and moon, and all the stars and everything herein, the supplier of everything we need, could not be in want of such things, could never herself be in any need of the things which are actually her own gifts to the self-styled givers. Indeed, so long as they follow themselves to be fulfilling their sacrificial duty to her by means of blood and fat and burnt offerings, and fancy they are doing her honor by such rites, I cannot see that there is anything to choose between them and the blood of the earth to lavish similar attentions on deaf and dumb idols. One party, it seems, makes its offerings to creatures which cannot partake of the gifts, and the other to one who needs none of them. And remember, in the old world, they're following the Elohim. They could not look to Yahweh. That's why they crucified Yeshua, because he claimed to come from Yahweh. But they were following in the singular Elohe. Elohe is Elohim, and so that's what they never tell us. Okay, that's why it does sound a bit unique to the hearing when we hear these things. As for their scrupulousness about meats and their superstitions about the Shabbats and their much vaunted circumcision and their pretentious festivals and new moon observances, all of them too nonsensical to be worth discussing, I hardly think you need instructions from me. Or how can it be anything but impure to accept some of the things which Yahweh has created for our use and assert their creation to have been commendable, but to reject others as being needless and good for nothing? And what can there be but profanity in the slanderous charge that Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, objects to perfect acts of healing being done on the Shabbat day, or any good act? And surely when they boast that a bodily mutilation is evidence of their inclusion among the elect, as though it gave them some special claim to Allah's love, what does this deserve but to be laughed out of court? As for the minute way they scrutinize the moon and stars, following the patterns, right? For the purpose of ritually commemorating months and days, and chop up the divinely appointed cycle of the seasons to suit their own fancies, pronouncing some to be times for feasting and others to be times for mourning. Could anyone pretend that this indicates true reverence and not simply a misguided intellect? I imagine you have heard enough now to see how right the Meshakim are in repudiating the folly and delusion common to these two cults, as well as the fuzzy practices of which the Judeans are so proud, following the Babylonian Talmud, we should add. At the same time, however, you must never expect to learn the inward mystery of their own tradition from merely earthly lips. The characteristics of the Meshakim community, aka Christians. The Christians. The difference between the Meshakim and the rest of mankind is not a matter of nationality, nor of tongue, nor of specific customs. The Meshakim, known as Christians, do not live apart in separate cities of their own, speak any special dialect, nor practice any eccentric way of life. The doctrine they profess is not the invention of creative earthly minds and of self-will, nor are they, like some adherents of this or that school of earthly thought. They pass their lives in whatever township, Greca or foreign. Each blood of the earth's lot has been determined and conforms to ordinary local usage in their clothing, diet, and other habits. Nevertheless, the organization of their community does exhibit some features that are remarkable and even surprising. For instance, though they are residents at home in their own countries or land, their behavior there is more like that of travelers, transients, foreigners, pilgrims, sojourners. They take their full part as citizens, but they also submit to anything and everything as if they were aliens. For them, any foreign country is a motherland, and any motherland is a foreign country. Like other men, they marry and engender offspring, though they do not expose their infants to indecent nudity. Any Meshakim Christian is free to share his neighbor's table, but never his marriage bed. Though destiny has placed them here in the flesh, they do not live after the flesh. Their days are passed on the earth, but their citizenship is above and the throne of the Son of Light. They obey the prescribed laws, but in their own private lives they transcend the laws. They show love, travail love to all blood of the earth, and all blood of the earth persecute them. They are miscomprehended and condemned, yet by suffering death they are quickened into life. They are poor, yet making many rich, lacking all things, yet having all things as in abundance. They are dishonored, yet made illuminated in their very dishonor, slandered, yet they are vindicated. They repay calumny, lies with endowments of enlightenment, and take abuse with courtesy. For the perfect actions that they produce, they suffer stripes as criminals, and under the strokes they stand up in the light, like blood of the earth of a new life. The Judeans assail them as heretics, and the Grecas harass them as contemptible with persecutions. And yet all of their ill wishes and all the ill wishers, there is none, not one, who can produce any grounds for hostility. To put it briefly, the relations of the Meshech game, known as Christians, to the world is that of a shul to the body, the soul to the body. As the soul is diffused through every part of the body, so the Meshech game through all the cities of the world. The shul, the soul, the serpent and the owl as well inhabits the body, makes up the body, while at the same time being forming no part of it. And the Meshech game inhabit the world, but they are not a part of the world. The shul, invisible in herself, is immured within a visible body. So the Meshech game can be recognized in the world, but the Meshech game itself remains hidden from the eye. As it says, our lives are hidden in Christ, the Meshech. The serpent flesh hates the shul and wars against her without any provocation, because she is an obstacle to its own self-indulgence. And the world similarly hates the Meshech game without provocation, because they are opposed to its pleasures. All the same, the shul loves and takes care of the flesh, grooming it, maintaining it in all of its parts, despite their hatred for her. And the Meshech game as well love those who hate them. The shul, shut up inside the body, nevertheless holds the body together. And though they are confined within the world as in a dungeon, it is the Meshech game Christian who holds the world together. They are the super sovereign, sovereign with the sovereign. The shul, which is immortal, must dwell in the material tabernacle, temple, and the Meshech game Christian, as they sojourn here for a while in the center of corruptibility right here, look for their own incorruptibility from the throne of the Son. Finally, just as to be stinted, to abstain of food and drink makes the soul's improvement, so as when the Meshech game Christian are every day subjected to ill treatment, and still they increase the more in numbers. Such is the high position of duty in which Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, has placed in them, and it is their ethical duty not to shrink from it. The supernatural nature of the Meshech game revelation. For as I breathed before, it is not an earthly discovery that has been entrusted to them. The thing they guard so jealously is no product of earthly thinking, and what has been committed to them is the stewardship of no earthly mysteries. The great Father who sees in the eye of the return himself, the great Elohim, the creator of the omniverse, the universe, the cosmos, the Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, who no eye can discern, yet has set down his very own truth from the throne of the Son of light, and his own pure anointed being, an incomprehensible Shavor, the burning sword of fire, the saving word, to plant it among and all blood of the earth and ground it deep into their hearts. To this end, he has not, as one might imagine, sent to mankind some servant, messenger of his own, some Malik or prince. It is none of the great ones of the earth, nor even one of the vice-regents of the past, but it is no other than the universal artificer and the creator and the architect himself, by whose agency Elohim made the cosmos and the earth and set the seas within their boundaries, whose mystic Shavor word the elements of creation submissively obey, by whom the Son of Light is assigned the limits of its course by day, and at whose command by night the obedient moon unveils her softer beams, and each compliant star follows circling in its order of train. Ordainer, disposer, and ruler of all things is he, the one, the I, from the throne of the sun and all that the cosmos contains, of the earth and all that is in the earth, of the sea and every creature that is therein, of the fires below and the ether above, the bottomless pit being the great cosmic sea above and the round earth beneath, of things above and things below, the microcosm, the macrocosm, and the things at the very apex and center. Such is the royal messenger, Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, who was actually sent to mankind, the one who made all things. And his coming is and was, as a man might suppose, in great power, in fire, and in dread. Not so. It is and was in gentleness and humility, as a royal Malik sending his only royal seed and son. So he sent him as the great Elohim, the enlightened one. The I sent him as blood of the earth to blood of the earth. The I sent him, the one of the many. And that because the I, he is given to save us by persuasion and love, and not by compulsion. For there is no compulsion found with Yahweh, who is the great Elohim. His mission is no pursuit or hounding of us. It is an invitation for us. The I does indeed send him to give us a pure judgment in our minds, and then who will abide the day of his coming? Who can abide it and stand in the face of all of this? Have you not seen the Meshech game? Thrown to the wild beasts to make them deny their healer and pure breather of light, and yet remaining undefeated? Did you not see how the more of them suffer such punishments, the larger grows the number of the rest? These things do not look like the work of blood of the earth. They are the great power of Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, and the evident tokens of his Trovain presence. The mystery of the incarnation. Before he came, Who among mankind had any notion at all of what the great Elohim is? Or do you accept the wild and ludicrous suggestions of your own pretentious philosophers, some of whom assure us that the great Elohim is simply fire, thus giving the name of Zeus to what they will surely come to one day come themselves, some that he is water, and others that one of the other various elements of his creation. I was talking about the sun, and I said Zeus as a footnote, but that one of the names they give him is the fire of destruction, you see, and then the other is that water, the one of the other various elements of his creation. In any one of those ideas, if it were admissible, there would be no reason why anything else in the world could not be declared to be a deity. Assertions of that sort are no more than the hocus pocus of hey presto magico of the professional illusionist. For no blood of the earth living has ever seen him or known him, the one of the many, in his true nature. It is he, the I himself, who has given us the revelation of himself, the great logo, his symbol, merely a sign. But the I, he has only revealed himself by the victory of light, by that which alone we are permitted to know and to see of the great Elohim. For the great Elohim, through the healer and pure breather of light, and the great architect of the entire world, who made and set everything in order, each single thing that is something more than loving towards mankind. He is long-suffering as well, enduring our insults. So the I, he has always been and still is and ever will be merciful, kind, gentle, slow to anger, and true to himself. There is none so perfect and complete as the I, he is. He conceived a design great and beyond all description, and the I, he imparted it to none but to his Son alone. So long as he maintained this secrecy and kept his own wise counsel, it seemed as though the I, he had no care for us and had put us out of his mind. But as soon as he disclosed it through his only loved seed and son, and revealed what had been planned since the beginning, then straightway the I, he poured out all the fullness of his bounty upon us, permitting us to share his benefactions and to see and know such barokim, endowment of enlightenment, as none of us could ever have looked for or imagined. Next, after making these dispositions in his mind with the Son, the I left us to live for the meanwhile as we were pleased to do, giving us free rein within our own unruly instincts and being under the control, as being under the control and at the mercy of sensuality and lust. This was not because he took any pleasure in these blindnesses of our own. All he was doing was to put up with them. It was not that he was sanctioning that former mistake of lawlessness. Rather, the I, he was preparing this present age of golden age of light, the perfection of light, to the intent that we who in these diels have been proved by our own pure works that were from the past. I should say past tense here. Okay, in those days, who had been proved by our own failed works unworthy to achieve life, might in these diels, in this golden age, be made worthy of it by the perfection of light in Yahweh, who is the great Elohim. And that after clearly showing our inability to enter into his royal domain, the royal house of Yahweh, by our own power, we might now by the great power of the great Elohim be made able through his operation of soul novation. Accordingly, when our inequity had come to its full height, and it was clear beyond all mistaking that retribution in the form of punishment and death must be looked for, the hour arriving in which the great Elohim had determined to make known from then onwards his true loving kindness and generosity through his great power. How surpassing is the travain love and tenderness of our great Elohim. In that hour, instead of hating us and rejecting us and remembering all of our wickedness against us, the eye, he showed how long suffering he is. He endured us, bore with us our suffering, and in pity, he took our own darkness of having our eyes closed upon himself and gave his own perfect seed and son as a ransom for us, the only true anointed pure great breath of light for the wicked, the sinless, the pure for the blind, the equitable and upright for the unjust, the incorruptible for the corrupted, the immortal for the mortal. For was there indeed anything except his perfection in light, the pure shelter that could have availed to cover our blindness, our own darkness? In whom could we, in our lawlessness and impurity, have been whom made pure, but in the seed of the Son of the great Elohim alone, a true, perfect, and complete sweet exchange, a true, perfect, and complete uncomprehensible operation working within us, a true, perfect, and complete benefit unhoped for, unknown, that the vile wickedness and nature of the multitudes should this way be hidden in the one, the pure nature, and the purity of the one should sanctify the countless wicked and make them pure, those who were lost. In times past, he convicted us that our earthly nature by itself lacked the power of attaining immortal life. Today, the eye he reveals to us as a shavor, a savior, a sword of fire that purifies, who has the power to save even the powerless. The purpose behind both of these acts is what we should follow in his perfection and light, and should look on him, the one of the many, as our nourisher, our great Father, our seed planter, our teacher, our counselor, our Naga healer and pure breather of light, our pure wisdom in wise judgment, the Chavain light that cannot be extinguished, the honor, the illumination of the great sunrise, the great infinite power, 10,000 times greater than the universe itself, and the great life in a day without end, and have no anxiety about our need for food, shelter, and clothing. A practical conclusion. I just need to wipe my eyes. I can't see. It just brought tears to my eyes to be reading all that. Continuing. And coming up next will be Yah Love on the original gospel. I decided to read this thing through. A practical conclusion. Now, if you as well desire to have this victory of light, the key knowledge of the great Father of light must be your first lesson. Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, loves the race of the entire race of blood of the earth. We are his offspring. It was for their sakes that he made the world and the entire universe. It was for them that he gave dominion over everything else in it. On them he bestowed reason and pure comprehension, knowledge, key knowledge without description. It's all evidenced in the ancient ruins. And they alone received permission to lift up their eyes up to him, the one of the many. He formed them in his own image. In the eye he sent his only engendered seed, his perfect seed, down to them, his only loved seed. The eye promised them the royal domain of the throne of the sun, the house of the sun. We're in it right here. As he told to Moshe, take off your sandals, you are on pure ground. And to those who have loved him, he will surely give this royal house. Once you have grasped these truths from the tree's root, think how your enlightenment will overflow. In what Travain love you will feel. For in him, the one of the many who loved you so. And if you love him, you will become an imitator of his perfection. Do not be surprised that a blood of the earth should be an imitator of the great Elohim. The eye can, since the great Elohim has willed it to be so, has made it to be so, has given us the example to be so. But happiness is not to be found in dominating one's fellows or in wanting to have more than all of his weaker brothers, or in possessing riches and riding roughshod over his inferiors. No one can become an imitator of the great Elohim like that, for such things are wholly alien to his greatness. For surely he could do that to us. But if a blood of the earth will shoulder his neighbor's burden, if he be ever ready to supply another's need from his own surplus, if by sharing the endowment and the enlightenment that the eye has received from the great Elohim with those who are in need and want, the eye himself becomes as Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, to those who receive from his abundance and surplus. Such a blood of the earth is indeed an imitator of the great Elohim. And then you will see, as you walk upon the earth, that there is a great Elohim who is completely and always operative, seated on the throne of the sun without end in then you can begin to focus upon his great mysteries. And then you can know the Travain love with keen knowledge and admiration for those who incur the persecutions by the refusal to deny him. Then as well you will see through the deceitfulness and the error of this world. Once you have found what it is to live the true life, the vivification in the throne of light, the throne of the sun, and have learned to despise the seeming death of the body and to dread only the real death, the spiritual death, which is reserved and is maintained for those who are already condemned in the fire of this earth, in the outer darkness, where there is continual weeping and gnashing and grinding of teeth, a fire that never goes out, a fire that continually torments the victim in this day without end. In the knowledge of those fires, your admiration should go out to all of those who now endure it in this elusive transient flame for the perfection of light instead. And you can call them endowed and enlightened indeed. The homily, part 2. I am not talking about anything new or strange or unique or raising any new questions, although I am an instructor of the commoners now. I was a pupil of the royal messengers once. He says apostles, so he was a student directly under the apostles, this one is writing. And what was delivered to me then, I now administer loyally to the students of truth from the tree's root. How can anyone who has been rightly taught, having plowed and planted within him and learned to love the pure shavor, the shower of the light, the river of light that continually flows, not to wish to be told the precise nature of the revelations of that shavor, word with a capital W, so openly made to his truth seekers, visibly present among them, the shavor, the burning sword of fire, the royal center of all things, made his disclosures to them in the plainest form of the Aramaic tongue, the tone key. Though unrecognized by those who could not follow, the eye discoursed without reserve to the truth seekers, and because they were reckoned loyal and trustworthy by him, the one of the many, they came to know the great and deeper mysteries of the great Elohim and Yahweh. That was the purpose for which Yahweh sent the word, the shavor, the logo, the royal center, the light come into the world to be manifested for the world. The incarnation of the great incarnation, the Son. The eye was despised by the chosen people of one that were once chosen, but rejected, but proclaimed by the royal Malach, the apostles, and followed in then by the commoners, instead by the commoners. Though the eye, he has existed since the very beginning. He is the first atom, atom. The eye came as one appearing for the first time, though we know him to be from ancient time. That's right. He was Melchizedek. He was Enoch. He was Abel, Gabriel, Raphael, Michael, and nobody gets it. He has been ever active in our presence. He is born forever new in the hearts of his anointed ones, continually being reborn in them. This is the I, the one who is from the everlasting. This is the I who is accounted this Diel, this day, a perfect seed and son of light. Through him, the perfect circle of the called out ones is enriched, abounding in the favor for all, which is the sun shining down for everyone, is multiplied among the anointed, furnishing pure comprehension, revealing these great mysteries, proclaiming the accuracy of all the times and the seasons, and standing up in the light over the loyal followers, the favor for all, the shining down of light upon everyone, which is granted to every seeker who does not violate his vows of conviction of the victory of light, or transgress the bounds that have been fixed by the fathers. And then a chant celebrates the fear of the pure shelter, the fear and reverence, the favor for all, the light that shines down on everyone from the navigators is made known. The great navigator, the light, the victory of light, of the star message of light is implanted. The tradition of the royal Malachim is secured, and the favor for all, the shining down of light upon everyone, is the perfect circle of the called out ones, called the church. It waxes jubilant. Do not grieve this favor for all. And then you will comprehend the things which the pure Shavor, the pure word, the Savior, the shower, the sower, the royal center, when it is his will to do these things, imparts through the lips of those he chooses. For whatsoever that commanding will of the pure Shavor impels us to utter, we are at pains to communicate with you in our travain love for the truths that the eye has revealed to us. Once these truths have been brought before you, and you have listened carefully to them, you will then know what the great Elohim bestows on those who rightly love him. They become a very paradise of delight. The Ganun. They make a grove to spring up and flourish within themselves, which yields all manners of nourishment and adorns them with fruits of every kind. For in that Ganun, the great light that shines, are planted both the tree of key knowledge and the tree of life. For it is not the tree of key knowledge that causes death. The deadly thing is disobedience. Scripture, the Shultres, clearly state, in the beginning, the great Elohim planted in the center of the garden the tree of key knowledge and the tree of vivification of life, thereby showing that the way to life lies through key knowledge. It is only because the first well, certainly not ignorance, right? Certainly not ignorance. It is only because the first created couple used it improperly that through the wiles of that serpent flesh, they were stripped of all they had, the light that they possessed. They had the eternal light in them. Didn't even know they were naked. Without the key knowledge, there can be no life. And without life, there can be no trustworthy key knowledge. Which is why the two trees were planted one on top of the other and side by side. The royal Malik saw the force of this when he told us, knowledge makes a sounding trumpet, but love is the true builder. That was his rebuke to the key knowledge which was exercised without regard to the life-giving precepts of the Travain truth. For a blood of the earth who claims to know, but is without the key knowledge, which is the real and asserted by the pure life, knows nothing. His serpent has tricked him because his heart is not set upon the true life. But the eye who possesses key knowledge coupled with fear and whose quest for the true life is earnest may plant in the hope of that opening and look for fruit to come. Let the heart of you then be key knowledge, and let your life be true inward reception of the pure Shavor, the fiery word, the Savior word, tending your tree in this way and pruning it and gathering in its fruits. You will at all times enjoy a harvest that is pleasing before the great Elohim, and and one which no serpent can touch, and no deceit penetrate. No longer then is Keva seduced. No longer then is Eve to be seduced by the lie. Trust is placed in a virgin. Salvation is therefore proclaimed. Salvation is proclaimed. Missioners are endowed with pure comprehension, and the healer, Naga healer and pure breather of lights, Feshach, Passover, goes forward. The passing over, that's what Passover means, onto the other side, rising from the dead, receiving the great breath of the wind and fire. The seasons are brought together. The duality is made whole, brought back to one, male and female. They are one. The seasons are brought together and fittingly set in their proper order. The Shavor, the burning swords of fire, stand up in the light to instruct the anointed, and through him, the one of the many, the great Elohim, is raised up in the light as the great sunrise, and to him be the radiant sunrise and the movement of light forever and ever. Yalmun, let there be light. And you just got the letter to Dionysius, ladies and gentlemen, right here on the Forbidden History. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. And when we come back, we will have Yah Love and the original gospel, ladies and gentlemen. Dionysius is spelled Diogenetus. Again, Diogenetus. I knew you'd all enjoy it. Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Mimi. Hans, good to have you. Remember the duality. The sun is the symbol of time, but the sun is also a symbol of eternity. Ladies and gentlemen, meditate upon that, okay? One symbol. Out came the duality. Okay, Ninja. On the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. And we have standing by, y'all love. Thank you for joining us.
Hi. Thank you too. I don't know exactly which chapter we are on because I forgot to note.
That's okay. We're on 76.
Oh, okay.
Right. And how did you enjoy the read?
Wow. I have no words for the moment. It was so beautiful.
Yeah. Isn't that some of the best kept secrets? They're just hiding everywhere, you know?
Wow.
It is the if there ever was an apology for Christianity, then that would have to be it, right?
So beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here we are, and we're in the let me see, what section are we in? Are we in the first annual epic? I can't remember. I think it starts with 72, right? Yeah. So we're in the first annual epic of the Mashiach game ministry of Yeshua. So we're in the first. So first year, okay, and we're on chapter 76.
Okay. The local went to Bethlehem, and many people followed him. The eye found the shepherd's home, where the eye was cradled when he was a babe. Here he abode. The eye went up to the hills where more than 30 years before the shepherds watched their flocks and heard the messenger of peace exclaim. At midnight, in a cave in Bethlehem, the Prince of Peace is born. And shepherds still were there, and sheep still fed upon the hills. And in the valley near great flocks of snow-white doves were flying to and fro. And when the shepherds knew that Yeshua, whom the people called the Royal Melech, had come, they came from near and far to spark to him. And Yeshua breathed to them, "You must see and read it for yourself, the life of innocence and peace. White is the symbol of the virtuous and pure, the lamb of innocence, the dove of peace. And it was meet that love should come in human form amid such scenes as these. Our father Abraham walked through these vales, and on these very hills the eye watched his flocks and herds. And here it was that one, the Prince of Peace, the Royal Melech of Shalom, came, the Moshiach in human form, a greater far than Abraham was the I. And here it was that Abraham gave to this royal Malik of Shalom tithes of all that he had. This Prince of Peace went forth in battle everywhere. The I had no sword, no armor of defense, no weapons of offense. And yet the I conquered blood of the earth, and nations trembled at his feet. The hosts of Mizraim quailed before this sturdy royal Malik of right. The kings of Mizraim placed their crowns upon his head and gave into his hands the scepter of all Mizraim land, and not a drop of blood was shed, and not a captive placed in chains. But everywhere the conqueror threw wide the prison doors and set the captives free. And once again the Prince of Peace has come, and from these enlightened hills, or anointed hills, the I goes again to fight. And the I is clothed in white, his sword is truth, his shield is victory of light, his helmet is innocence, his breast is love, his watchword peace. But this is not a carnal war. It is not blood of the earth at war with blood of the earth, but it is right against wrong. And love is captain, love is warrior, love is armor, love is all, and love shall win. And then again the hills of Bethlehem were clothed with white, with light. Again the messenger exclaimed, peace, peace on earth, and goodwill to men. What shall I say there? Goodwill to men.
What verse are you in, Ellen?
Oh, I am at 24.
24. Okay. The shalom of eternal peace on earth, and a perfect will towards all blood of the earth. Perfect will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Yeshua taught the people. He healed the sick, revealed the mysteries of the royal domain of the only true anointed one. And many breathed, the I is the Moshiach, the royal ruler who was to come, has come. Praise great Elohim. Chapter 77. With 3 truth seekers, Yeshua went to Hebron, where the I tarried 7 days and taught. And then the I went to Bethany, and in the home of Lazar the I taught. The evening came, the multitudes were gone, and Yeshua, Lazar, and his sisters Martha, Ruth, and Mary were alone. And Ruth was sore distressed. Her home was down in Jericho. Her husband was the keeper of an inn. His title was Asher Ben. Now Asher was a Pharisee of strictest mien and thought, and the I regarded Yeshua with disdain. And when his wife confessed her victory of light in the Moshiach, the I drove her from his home. But Ruth resisted not. She breathed, if Yeshua is the Moshiach, the I knows the way, and I am sure the I is the Moshiach. My husband may become enraged and slay my human form. The I cannot kill my soul, and in the many mansions of my fatherland I have a dwelling place. And Ruth told Yeshua all, and then she breathed, what shall I do? And Yeshua breathed, your husband is not willingly at fault. The I is devout. The I creates light to the great Elohim, our Father, the great Elohim. His zeal for his religion is intense. In this, the I is sincere, but it has driven him insane, and the eye believes it right to keep his home unsullied by the heresy of Moshiach. The eye feels assured that he has done the will of the great Elohim in driving you away. Intolerance is ignorance matured. The light will come to him someday, and then the eye will repay for all your heartaches, griefs, and tears. And Ruth, you must not think that you are free from blame. If you had walked in wisdom's ways and been content to hold your peace, this grief would not have come to you. It takes a long, long time for light to break into the shell of prejudice, and patience is the lesson you have need to learn. The constant dropping of the water wears away the hardest stone. The sweet and anointed incense of all godly life, of all divine life, will melt intolerance much quicker than the hottest flame or hardest blow. Just wait a little time, and then go home with sympathy and love. Talk not of Moshiach, nor of the royal domain of the only true anointed one. Just live a divine life. Refrain from harshness in your speech, and you will lead your husband to the light. And it was so. Chapter 78. And Yeshua went to Jericho, and at the inn of Asher he abode. A servant at the inn was sick, nigh unto death. The healers could not cure, and Yeshua came and touched the dying girl and breathed, Malone, arise. And in a moment pain was gone, the fever ceased, and the maid was well. And then the people brought their sick, and they were healed. But Yeshua did not tarry long in Jericho. The eye went down to the Jordan crossing, where Yoganun was wont to teach. The multitudes were there, and Yeshua breathed to them, You must see and read it for yourself. The time has come. The royal domain is at hand. None but the pure in heart can come into the royal domain of the only true anointed one. But every son and daughter of the human race is called upon to turn from darkness and become the pure in heart. The resolution to attain and enter through the Moshiach gate into the royal domain of the only pure anointed one will constitute the state of truth-seeking, and everyone must make a pledge of his state of truth-seeking. Yoganun washed your bodies in the stream, symbolic of the cleansing of the soul, a preparation for the coming of the royal Melech, the opening of the Moshiach gate into the royal domain of the only true anointed one. Yoganun did a mighty work, but now the Moshiach gate is opened up, and washing is established as the pledge of your estate of truth-seeking. Until this age shall close, this pledge shall be a right, and shall be called Alva Vateza the right of Alva Vateza Ref.
Alva Vatezoreth. Alva Vatezoreth.
Yes. Alva Vatezareth. Ref. And it shall be a sign to blood of the earth, and a seal to the great Elohim of blood of the earth, estate of truth-seeking. You blood of the earth of every nation, hear, come unto me. The gate of the Moshiach is opened up turn from your darkness and blindness, and be Alva Vatesa Red, and you shall enter through the gate and see the royal Malik, the royal ruler. The 6 truth seekers who had followed Yeshua stood near, and Yeshua led them forth, and in the Jordan he Alva Vatesa them in the name, in the royal title of Moshiach, and then the eye breathed to them. My friends, you are the first to enter through the gate of the Moshiach into the royal domain of the only true anointed one. As I, Alva Vatesa you, that means baptize, for those who don't know, you in the title, in the royal title of the Moshiach. So you shall, in that sacred title, be Alva Vatesa
In that sense, it would be Alva Vatesard. Alva Vatesard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ultimate tongue twister, right here, ladies and gentlemen.
What?
I said the ultimate tongue twister, right here.
So now I have to repeat it. Because,
if she can master this one, she gets the diploma, okay?
I say verse 15 again, okay?
All right.
Sorry. So as I, Alva Vatesa you in the royal title of the Moshiach, so you shall in that sacred title, Alva Vatesa all blood of the earth, men and women who will confess their victory of light in the Moshiach and shall renounce their blindness and darkness. And it is true throughout all time. The multitudes came down, renounced their blindness, confessed their victory of light in the Moshiach, and were Alva Vatesa Red. Was that okay?
Yeah. Doing great.
Good. Chapter 79.
Okay.
Now, Yoganun, the herald, was at the Shalom springs, where water was abundant, and washed the bodies of the people who confessed their blindness. And a Judean lawyer went to Yoganun and breathed, "Has not this blood of the earth from Galilee, the eye whom you washed and called the Moshiach, become your foe?" They breathe that the eye is at the Jordan crossing, and that the eye is building up a temple or something else, and that the eye washes people just as you have done. And Yoganun replied, "This Yeshua is indeed the Moshiach, whose way I came to pave. The eye is not foe of mine. The bridegroom has the bride. His friends are near, and when they hear his voice, they all rejoice. The royal domain of the only true anointed one is bride, and the Moshiach is the groom. And I, the herald, am full of joy of enlightenment, because they prosper so abundantly. I have performed the work that I was sent to do. The work of Yeshua just begins." Then, turning to the multitudes, the eye breathed, "The Moshiach is the royal ruler of purity of light. The Moshiach is the love of the great Elohim. Yeah, the eye is the great Elohim, one of the anointed persons of the triune great Elohim. The Moshiach lives in every heart of purity. Now, Yeshua, who is reaching out at the Jordan crossing, has been subjected to the hardest test of human life, and the eye has conquered all the appetites and passions of the carnal blood of the earth, and by the highest court of the throne of the sun has been declared a blood of the earth of such superior purity and anointment and enlightenment that the eye can demonstrate the presence of the Moshiach on earth. It is true throughout all time. Love divine, which is the Moshiach, abides in him, and the eye is pattern for the race. And every blood of the earth can see in him what every blood of the earth will be when the eye has conquered all the passions of the selfish self. In water I have washed the bodies of the people who have turned from their blindness, symbolic of the cleansing of the soul. But Yeshua baths forever in the living waters of the only true anointed, pure, great breath of life, of light. And Yeshua comes to bring the Savior of the world to blood of the earth. Love is the Savior of the world and the Shavuot. And all who put their trust in the Moshiach and follow Yeshua as a pattern and a guide have everlasting life. But they who do not trust the Moshiach and will not purify their hearts so that the Moshiach can dwell within can never enter life until they learn and change their hearts and walk the straight and narrow path of the Moshiach. Chapter 80.
You actually have another. You're reading off of a PDF?
Yes.
Interesting, because mine ends with can never enter life, and you have something that followed after that, huh?
Yes.
Oh, read that. Read.
There is some.
Go ahead.
There is something in parentheses. I don't know how you call that in English.
Parentheses. Parentheses. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
parentheses.
read verse 18 again, from beginning to end. Okay.
Yeah. But they who do not trust the Moshiach and will not purify their hearts so that the Moshiach can dwell within can never enter life. And then the parentheses open up until they learn and change their hearts and walk the straight and narrow path of the Moshiach. Parentheses closing and point.
Interesting. Yeah, that's not in the printed version here that I have.
Don't have that?
Yeah, so I took a note, and that way, in the future, when if we do a modern transliteration of this, then we'll know to look for that. So, fantastic. I think because I want to do a review of Philo because he's right in Genesis, and it'd be like a good review, and to get his commentary on that will be great. Love, anything else on your part?
No, thank you. I'm a little blown away from your read, so
great.
Yeah.
Okay,
that was really great.
Well, everybody's enjoying your read as well, and so we're going to do the cap off now. I'm going to try to knock it out within the next. We got 30 minutes left before 3 hours, so I'm going to try to see what I can do. And so, thank you so much, and
thank you.
And you're doing great. So keep it
See
up.
you in the chat.
See you in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you.
And when we pick it up next time, we'll be in chapter 80 in the original gospel. Okay. And so now I was looking in Philo while she was reading, and I realized that this was the perfect time, since I'm not doing the Genesis, to just go into Philo real quick. I see I've got all kinds of highlights in here, and so it's getting thick now, and the plot is thickening. So picking up in Philo on 25 in what is called the allegorical interpretations. So for Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, did not reign upon the earth, and blood of the earth did not exist to cultivate the earth. Okay? Speaking in the strictest accordance with the natural philosophy. For if the great Elohim did not shed the perceptions of things subject to them, like rain upon the senses, in that case the mind as well would not labor nor employ itself about sensation, for he would be unable to effect anything by himself unless he were to put forth, like rain or dew, colors or upon the sight, the sounds upon the hearing, and flavor on the taste, and on all other senses, the things proper to produce the requisite effects. But when the great Elohim begins to rain sensation on the things perceptible by the external senses, then the mind is perceived to act like the cultivator of fertile soil. But the idea of sensation, which he, speaking figuratively, has called the earth, is in no need of nourishment. But the nourishment of the senses are the particular objects perceptible by the external senses, and these objects are bodies, but an idea is a thing different from bodies. Before, therefore, there existed any individual compound substances, the great Elohim did not reign upon the idea of sensation, to which he gave the title of the earth. And you can see the primary word in earth is ear, to hear, and the TH is the symbol of the breath. So literally earth means, here it is, okay, I'm seeing it for the first time, to hear the breath. Earth means to hear the breath. I got to write that down on a 3x5 card. Hang on. To hear the breath. Wow. That's what we're doing. To hear the breath. The great breath of the wind and fire. Okay. You're hearing it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Original thought. And and that means that he did not furnish it with any nourishment, for indeed it had altogether no need of any object perceptible by the external senses. That's a deep read, and we have to realize that the Bale Suits control these translations, and I've shown many areas where they have manipulated the text, and therefore it's one of those things where, you know, you have to keep reading over and over. But when Moses breathes, and blood of the earth did not exist to cultivate the earth, that means that the idea of intellect did not labor upon the idea of the sensations. For my intellect and yours work up the sensations by means of things perceptible by the external senses. But the idea of mind, and mind without the D is more correct, the mine, because it's a gold mine of infinite potential. But the idea of the mind, as must be the case when there is no individual body connected with it, does not work upon the idea of sensation. For it did so work. For if it did so work, it would, of course, work by means of objects perceptible by the external senses. But there is no such object in ideas. But a fountain went up upon the earth. Okay, and here it says fountain, and in the Syriac it said powerful fountain, and in the King James it says mist, which is mystery. This is where the volcano is coming, okay, right here. And because remember, this is before it rained on the earth, and the only thing we have is the water was divided by the land. That's all we have. We have naked land, just like we have naked Adam and Eve. You know, Adam is being formed here, coming up next. And so everything is naked, and nothing has been dressed. But a fountain, which is the volcano, a volcano went up upon the earth, and it covered the face of the earth. And in the ancient tradition, it also says that it fell into the water, and the water then was taken out of the water, and that was how the first man was formed. He here calls the mind the fountain. Okay, and a fountain, by the way, is not water. When you look up the definition of fountain, it means a creation. Okay, a creation. The fountain is the object. Okay, not water. And so he calls the mind the fountain of the earth, and the sensations he calls the face of the earth. And so here's where the body is being formed. You see, it's a duality. He's giving the esoteric meaning while we're reading it in the literal sense in the scriptures, although they corrupted it. Because and the sensations he calls the face of the earth, because there is the most suitable place in the whole body for them, with reference to their appropriate energies, a place that nature, which foreknows everything, has assigned to them. And the mind waters the sensations like a fountain, or we should say it feeds, or the mind feeds the sensations like a fountain, sending appropriate streams over each. And so we can see even the ideas are called streams, just like when it said, and then a river came out of the atom, out of the Eden, and so the river is an esoteric concept, and the physical river on earth is a symbol of the river of life, because it is a river of life and light. Okay, so, and suitable in their body with, let me back up here. So the sensations he calls the face of the earth, because there is the most suitable place in the whole body for them with reference to their appropriate energies, the place that nature, which foreknows everything, has assigned to them. And the mind waters the sensations like a fountain, sending appropriate streams over each. See now how the powers of a living animal depend upon one another like a chain. For as the mind and sensations and the object perceptible by the external sense are three different things, the middle term is sensation, and the mind and the object perceptible by the external senses are the two extremes. But the mind is unable to work, that is to say, to energize according to sensation, unless the great Elohim rains upon and irrigates the object perceptible by the external senses. You see, so just like it has to rain upon the earth for life to grow, the frequency, the vibrations from the great light have to flow through us as well. The truth, the symbol, okay, the sound, all those things have an effect on us. The mind is unable to work, that is to say, to energize according to sensation, unless the great Elohim rains upon and irrigates the object perceptible by the external senses, nor is there any advantage from the object perceptible to the external sense when wanted, unless the mind, like a fountain, extending itself as far as the sensation, puts it in motion when it is quiet or still, and leads it on to a comprehension of the subject, so that the mind and the object perceptible by the external senses are always endeavoring to reciprocate one with one another. The being subject to the sensations as a kind of material would be, and the mind stirring up the sensations toward the external object, as a workman would do in order to create an appetite. For a living animal is superior to that which is not a living animal in 2 points: imagination and appetite. Accordingly, imagination consists in the appropriate, Accordingly, imagination consists in the approach of the external object, striking the mind by means of the sensations. And appetite is the brother of imagination. And so there's more than one meaning of hunger, right? We have a hunger when we want to know the truth, and then we're talking about the literal aspect being symbolic, therefore. And appetite is the brother of imagination, according to the intensive power of the mind, which the mind keeps on the stretch by means of the sensation, and so touches the subject matter and comes over to it, being eager to arrive at, and comprehend it. And then we're just going to lead into the image of man. Let me see where this goes here. The image of man in 12, also 31. And the great Elohim created the blood of the earth, taking a lump of fiery magma from the earth, and breathed into his face, and the breath of life. And the blood of the earth became a living shul, a soul, a serpent, and an owl. The race having the two natures, one of the earth and one of the air. The races of the blood of the earth are twofold. For one is of the blood of the earth of the air and of the light, and the other is the earthly blood of the earth and of the darkness. Now, the blood of the earth of the air, as being born in the image of the great light of Elohim, seed of light, has no participation in any corruptible or earthly essences. But the earthly blood of the earth is made of a loose material, which he calls the fiery magma, on which account he breathes. Not that the blood of the earth of the air was made, but that he was fashioned according to the image of the great Elohim. But the earthly blood of the earth he calls a thing made, and not engendered by the great architect. And we must consider that the blood of the earth, who was formed of the earth, means the mind, which is to be infused into the body, but which has not yet been so infused. And this mind would be really earthly and corruptible if it were not that the great Elohim, who is Yahweh, had breathed into it the spirit of genuine life, the true life, the spiritual aspect. For then it exists and is no longer made into a soul, and its soul is not inactive and incapable of proper formation, but a really intellectual and living aspect. For blood of the earth breathes Moshe'el, and he became a living soul. Okay, a serpent and an owl. And I think I'm going to put it right there for our next read. But let me just move forward, see where it goes. But someone may ask why Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, thought about an earth-born mind, which was wholly devoted to the body, worthy of divine inspiration, and yet did not treat one made after his own idea and image in the same manner. In the second place, he may ask, what is the meaning of the expression breathed into? And thirdly, why he breathed into its face, more specifically the nostrils versus the mouth, because of the things that would come out of the mouth. He didn't want to take credit for it, so he breathed into the nostrils, the gnosis. Fourthly, also, why, since he knew the title of the great breath of the wind of fire, the spirit, when he breathes, then the great spirit and breath of Yahweh moved upon the face of the cosmos, the cosmic sea, and he now speaks of breath and not of spirit. Now, in the reply to the first question, we must breathe that this one thing, the great Elohim, being very magnificent, gives his perfect things to all blood of the earth, even to those who are not perfect, or he gives his excellent things to those who are not perfect, inviting them to a participation and a rivalry in virtue, and at the same time displaying his abundant riches, and shows that it is sufficient for those who also will not be greatly benefited by it. And he also shows this in the most evident manner possible in other cases. For when he rains on the sea, and when he raises up fountains in desolate places, there's your volcano, and covers the shallow and rough and unproductive land, making the flowing to overflow in enormous mass, what else is he doing but displaying the great abundance of his riches, of his excellence? This is the cause why he has created no soul in such a condition as to be wholly barren of, of excellence, even if the employment of what is excellent be beyond the reach of some people. We must also give a second reason, and I'm going to close it right here, which is this. Moshiel wished to represent all the action of the deity as just, therefore, a blood of the earth who had not had a real life breathed into him. Therefore, let me read that again. And so Moshiel wished to represent all of the actions of the deity as just, and therefore a blood of the earth who had not had a real life breathed into him, but who was ignorant of virtue when he was chastised for the closing of the eyes which he had committed, would say that he was punished unjustly, in that it was only through ignorance of what was excellent that he had erred respecting it, and that he was to blame who had not breathed any proper wisdom into him. But perhaps he will even say that he has absolutely committed no offense whatever, since some people affirm that actions done involuntarily and in ignorance have not the nature of offenses. Now, the expression breathed into is equivalent to inspired, okay? Inspired or gave life to things inanimate. For let us take care that we are never filled with such absurdity as to think that the great Elohim employs the organs of the mouth or nostrils for the purpose of breathing into anything. For the great Elohim is not only devoid of peculiar qualities, but he is likewise not of the form of blood of the earth. And the use of these words shows some more secret mystery of nature. For there must be three things: that which breathes in, and that which receives what is breathed in, and that which is breathed in. Now, that which breathes in is the great Elohim. That which receives what is breathed in is the mind. And that which is breathed in is the spirit. That what then is collected from these three things. A union of three takes place through the great Elohim extending the power. There's the Treyun, the Travain, symbol of sun, earth, and moon, and the primordial, mother, father, son. The extending power which proceeds from himself through the spirit, which is the middle term as far as the subject. Why does he do this? Except that we may thus derive a proper notion of him. Since how could the soul have perceived the great Elohim if he had not inspired him, breathed into him, and touched it according to his power? For earthly intellect would not have dared to mount up to such a height as to lay claim to the nature of the great Elohim, if the great Elohim himself had not drawn it up to himself, as far as it was possible for the mind of blood of the earth to be drawn up, and if he had not yet formed it according to those powers which can be comprehended. Okay, and the great Elohim breathed into blood of the earth's face, both physically and ethically. Physically, when he placed the senses in the face, and this portion of the body above all others is vivified and inspired. And ethically, in this manner, as the face is the dominant portion of the body, so also is the mind the dominant portion of the soul. It is into this alone that the great Elohim breathes, but the other parts, the sensations, the power of speech, and the power of generation or regeneration, he does not think worthy of his breath, for they are inferior in power. But what then were these subordinate parts inspired? Beyond all question, by the mind. For of the qualities which the mind has received from the great Elohim, it gives a share to the irrational portion of the soul. so that the mind is vivified by the great Elohim, and the irrational part of the soul by the mind. For the mind is, as it were, an Elohim, or an enlightened aspect, to the irrational part of the soul, for which reason Moshe El did not hesitate to call it the great Elohim of Pharaoh. There's a footnote there, Exodus 7:1. For of all created things, some are created by the great Elohim and through him. Some not indeed by the great Elohim, but yet through him anyway. And the rest have their existence both by him and through him. And another scripture says, for in him we move and breathe and have our being. At all events, Moshe El, as he proceeded, breathes that the great Elohim planted a paradise among the best things as made both by the great Elohim and through the great Elohim is the mind. But the rational part of the soul was made indeed by the great Elohim, but not through the great Elohim. It was the lower Elohim, that's the implication. The earth itself producing, while the great Elohim stood aside and shined down the great light. But through the reasoning power which bears rule and sovereignty in the soul. And Moshe El has used the word breath, not spirit, as there is a difference between the two words. For the spirit is conceived of according to strength and intensity and power, but breath is a gentle and moderate kind of breeze and exaltation. Therefore the mind, which was created in accordance with the image and idea of Yahweh, may be justly said to take part in his spirit, for it is reasoning. Its reasoning has strength, but that which is derived from matter is only a partaker of a thin and very light air. Okay, I'm getting the picture. Being, as it were, a sort of exaltation, such as arises from species, for they, although they be preserved intact and are not exposed to the fire or fumigation, do nevertheless emit a certain fragrance. And the great Elohim planted a paradise in Eden, that's the Adam, that's the sun, planted a Ganun, and the great Elohim planted a Ganun in the atom, in the east. And there he placed the blood of the earth, whom he had formed. Okay, that's where he stayed. Well, there is nothing on the earth, and creation of all things on earth began. Then, because in the end it says, then he took him out of Eden and placed him in the garden. Okay, for he called that divine and heavenly wisdom by many names, and he made it manifest that he had many appellations or names for things. For he called it in the beginning, and the image and the eye of the great Elohim. And he called it, that's what he called it in the beginning. That's reference to the sun, because the sun came first. And I think I will just put it right there, and that's where we can pick it up on this. Okay, and post my note here. It's pretty deep. You can see Philo is pretty deep, ladies and gentlemen, and it's with nobody even talks about it, you know. So let me just we'll go to a few words that kill, and we'll then cap it off with a short read. We just have a short read in history of the church. So remember, we transliterate thoughts and precepts, not words. And Ignatius said to the Sumerians, I've heard of some who say, unless I can find it written in the originals, I will not believe it to be written in the star message of truth. And then when I breathe, this is the way that it has been written, they then respond back with what lays before them in their own corrupted text. And all writings are controlled and corrupted, all. Okay? Even D. Brown's book, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, even a book like that by the Native Americans, everything. Just like they go and scarf up all the bones of the giants, you know. They want to control everything. They want to control our minds and thinking, thereby and they claim to be illuminated when they're just in the darkness, you see. And nation, review again, nation is now Zeon. Now Zeon, so there it is. See, so when they're talking about world Zionism, they're all already claiming that this is the Zion come down. This is their Zion, you see. Nation is a corruption. In other words, look at nation. Nation. Where's the T sound? Isn't it SH? Nation. There's no T in nation. It's now Sean. Now Sean. Now Zayon. You see? So this is their world domination, global Zionism, and it's in the very word nation. Okay, also connected with the word Nathan, and there's more to it, but I just wanted to share that with you. And then we've got mitzvah, and mitzvah, it's interesting because mitzvah sounds like Metzorem. It's a form of Metzorem. And so the Metzorites gave us our old covenant, the Jews of Switzerland, the bankers. And so mitzvah means to be born of good works. And so mitzvah is being a form of Metzorem, the original for Egypt. Then it has to do with, with the eye of it. What it implies in one sense is the mother's eye of the serpent. It's the mother's eye of the serpent. And that's what Egypt was. It was the mother's eye of the serpent, where they had the pyramids, right? The pyramids and all the temples and all the temple of Vulcan, okay? All of that. Yep. You only hear it's the temple of Vulcan by reading Herodotus. Nobody tells us the temples are Vulcan. You know, the volcano, Yavohe, the vol, the volumes, that which fills up, vol, okay? Volcano. So mitzvah is a very interesting word, and in the Hebrew or the Yiddish Jewish tradition, it means to be, born of good works. But we don't see that in the Jewish tradition, do we? I guess unless it's to their own brotherhood, the secret handshake and their oath of Kol Nidre. So just a couple words, and then we'll get into the final segment right here. Oat, O-A-T, literally means, and did you eat your oats today? Okay, that's what we're talking about. It means the true creation. O for true, and A-T, the original alphabet, O-A-T, so literally it means the true creation. That's why they feed oats to the horses, I guess, and they taught us to hate the oatmeal, right? Because oats are apparently really good for you. And I eat my oatmeal every day. Yes, I do, most every day. And first and last symbols or letters implies the entire alphabet representing creation, the A-T, O-A-T, meaning the true creation, and C may make you want to eat your oatmeal this morning. That's right. Oath, O-A-T-H, add a H at the end for the breath. What does it mean? The true breath. H is the breath, or the true breath of creation. See, oath fish oils, officials, oath officials, oath fish oils. Interesting. Have no true breath today. All government agents, naga reversed, serpent, lie, on the stand. Most all. Not all serpents are bad. Obama, Ola, Ablama, Ablama, Abla, Ablama, Abla, Mama, Ablamama. What? I don't know what I wrote here. I'm trying to figure it out. Hang in there. When Ablama, Obama, okay, it's a play on Obama, said on national media, Spin TV, I have been to all 57 states. You might remember that one. They talked about it a little bit, right? He said he went to all 50 states. I hear you, Lou. That oatmeal, that's the secret. They always teach us to hate what we're supposed to want, right? Like, don't eat egg yolk, which is another symbol of the sun. But when really it's the milk and the glue that's getting the cholesterol stuck up there. It's the milk, it's the glue, the Elmer's glue. That's what they make with milk. Okay, so when Obama said, I've been to all 57 states, he was speaking in code for the 57 Muslim states. Whoa! I think we could call this a moose slam, sort of like the high five. Yeah, it was a moose slam. High-fiving. Yeah, 57 Muslim states. See, he and his wife are the Vatican Muslim insurgents that hate Americans. You got that right. And Christians with a passion, we should add. And so coming up next time, we'll be into the word occult. And we just love those occult, don't we? Because if we didn't know about the occult, maybe we never would have seen the light. Because it's the darkness, don't forget, that introduced us to the light. And we were so sick of that darkness, we said, is this all it is? Come on, there's got to be more. And so now we're in the final segment here, ladies and gentlemen, the history of the church. You're all just great and dedicated people that love truth, I can tell, and you're always, here because you can't get this anywhere else. And the good news is Yeshua is breathing. He is absolutely breathing, and we need to receive that breath from him. And I'm just the shulfar. The shulfar, the original word for shul, is the original is shulfar, but it means scribe or translator. But shulfar is the word, so that's what I am, and he's sounding, breathing through me. The shofar is a horn, the shofar, right? And so I'm just being used by Yeshua. I have the great opportunity, but I'm also continuing to grow and to learn, and I have to do this or I'm dead. You know that. You have to breathe, and then breathe for others. We have to breathe for each other. Thank you, Yellow. Okay. And so let us now return to the corner. This is now the meander, the impostor. So we're talking about a false tradition, apparently. Here, let us now return to the course of our story. Simon the Magus was succeeded by Menander, a second tool of the adversary's ingenuity, as bad as his predecessor. As he showed by his conduct, he too was a Samaritan, and having risen to the same heights of imposture as his master, he poured out a stream of still more marvelous tales. He actually claimed to be the Savior sent down from somewhere aloft to save mankind. Somewhere aloft. See, he's not going to state it either. Sent down from the sun to save mankind from invisible action, aeons. And taught that there was no way by which a blood of the earth could get a better, and taught that there was no way by which a blood of the earth could get the better, even of the royal messengers who made the world, unless he had first been taken through the magical skills transmitted by himself and the baptism which he bestowed. Sounds a little like Freemasonry. Okay, they're holding the secrets, right? Those who were admitted to this baptism would share in everlasting immortality in this present world, no longer subject to death, but destined to continue here forever, ageless and immortal. Well, who'd want to continue here forever? Not in this earth. All this is clearly stated in the writings of Irenaeus Justum, as well follows up his comments on Shimon with an account of his successor. Another Samaritan called Menander from the village of Capratia became a disciple of Simon, and like him was driven away mad by the dark natures. It is known that he arrived in Antioch and deluded many by magical trickery. He even persuaded his followers that they would not die. And there are still some who, on the strength of his assertion, maintain this conviction. It is certainly characteristic of the adversary's ingenuity to make use of such impostors who usurp the title of Christian, and his determination to misrepresent in the interest of magic the great mystery of religion, and to make a mockery of the church's teaching on the immorality and the unethical behavior of the soul and the resurrection of the dead. But those who have entitled those men as saviors have fallen from their true hope. And of course, what they did back then, ladies and gentlemen, was to set up secret societies, and because they were back then as well, and that was one of the ways they were going to try to defeat the perfect circle of the called out ones, or the true church. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for today, and I can tell in my voice, but we did it. It's another wrap, another day. Hope everybody's weekend is going well. We're in a great struggle. We need to see and read it for ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. That's the secret. We didn't learn how to read, and then everything that we had to read was corrupted, and they controlled the burning shavors of fire, the words of fire. But the good news is Yeshua's breathing, and it's allowing us to get back to what they didn't want you to know. But we tell right here, the Forbidden History series, every day, most often, 7 days a week, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We will be having a change of that schedule very soon, so just be aware. And just remember, if you want to know the future, you simply need to look for the Forbidden History, because it's all right here. Hope you're telling your friends. I'm Desert Owl, thanking you for tuning in and telling your friends. And be safe out there, okay? And thank you, Mew Mew, Ninja, y'all love, Free Read, everybody else, okay? Lou, Martha, thank you, brother. Keep those videos coming. I enjoyed taking the break with you. Thank you, Ninja. Love you too. Let there be light.